It's Jim Monaghan, Chris Swendeman, another 2 Minute Drill podcast, and we are pleased to welcome one of my favorite people in the record industry. We've known each other, wow, way too long. He is the author of a brand new book, Gliders Over Hollywood, Airships, Airplay, and the Art of Rock Promotion. Paul Rappaport, welcome to the 2 Minute Drill.
Thank you very much, and I hope it's longer than 2 minutes. And because I'm a promotion man, I'm just going to show people what this looks like.
There you go. There's the book.
Which is actually, if I do say so myself, a great cover. The people who did this are geniuses. So
absolutely,
I love my publisher and all the people that work there. So anyway, but thanks for having me on. I really appreciate that you guys are having me on.
No, absolutely. And Paul, quick question. So early in the book, you say that you waited until it got to a loud roar to write this. You have some amazing stories in here. I mean, some of the chapters should start, wait till you hear this one. I mean, that's how amazing some of these stories are.
I appreciate it.
And why now? Why did you wait this long to write this book?
Well, I'm a good storyteller, and I got that from my father. I love telling stories. And look, you're talking about a business from the 70s, 80s, and 90s, which is like, it's unbelievable. Right, these stories are unbelievable because the adventures are unbelievable. The way business was done was unbelievable. So I wrote it because I don't read that much, but as I would read stories, by rock artists, you get their world. You'll get Bruce's world, Eric Clapton's world, Keith's world, but nobody had ever written our world. Like, it's like soup to nuts. Like here's, FM radio in the beginning, but there's all these characters. Forget the artists. The managers are bananas. I mean, it's like, so, look, I'm sure we're going to go through some stories, but people have to understand what the rock and roll business was like. And you read the story of Herbie Herbert, the manager of Journey, mega band, gazillions of albums, gazillions of dollars, right? And we have to decide a single, and I can't remember which Journey album it was, but we're selling 50,000 albums a week. And as you guys know, when you release singles, you have to keep momentum going. So it's timely, right? And the manager of Journey, P.S., who's not Jewish, got on a Yiddish kick, right? And he sent Yiddish for Dummies to the entire industry and said, if you want to talk to me, or they had a famous road manager, Pat Morrow, Bubba is his nickname. You want to speak to me or Bubba? Excuse me. You're going to have to speak a couple lines of Yiddish. And if you read in the book, you read why they got into it. But anyway, but the point is that it's a Thursday afternoon, it's 3:00, and I get a call from him because we have to decide the single that day, right? And so, line one, Herbie Herbert. Hey, Herbie, how you doing? Was machst du? He's speaking Yiddish. I'm like, Herbie, I got the book. It's cute. It's great. But this is a timely conversation. I have an idea for a single. You do. We have to put it in production. I have to call all the rock stations. He keeps talking Yiddish for 2 minutes. Finally, he stops and he goes, Rap, what the F? A nice Jewish boy like you can't learn a couple of lines of Yiddish? I'm like, Herbie, yeah, I got the book. It's cute, but we're talking millions of dollars. This is a timely conversation. He says, I know, learn your Yiddish and call me back. Click. Now, if I want to get the next Journey single out, I have to go find my Yiddish book. This is real. I'm not making this up. I have to find my Yiddish book. I have to learn 2 lines of Yiddish so that I can speak it so I can get the next Journey single out. Okay, this is the business I was in for 30 years. Like, people need to know this. So the reason I wrote it now was because I hadn't seen anybody doing it. And it just, because I tell all these stories, and look, people, for all of us who've been in this business, Jim, I'm sure people come to you and say, well, you got to write a book. In fact, you were in the book. I'm sorry to tell you, you're on the cutting room floor because
that's happened before.
Well, of a fabulous story that I'll tell you, but at any rate, but no one had done it, and I am blessed with a photographic memory. When you read the book and you read those adventures, you're there. I mean, you're having conversations with Mick Jagger and Keith Richards and Elvis Costello and Bruce and all these, Bob Dylan, because I can remember Like I see it. I can see the room I'm in. I can remember the conversations. I can tell you what Mick Jagger ate for dinner when he was sitting in front of me. I can tell you how he uses his knife and fork. I mean, so I'm blessed with this. But about 6 years ago, because it took 6 years to write this, I thought, well, I have this memory, but we're all getting older. How long do I have this memory? I don't know. Between that and the fact that nobody wrote it, and I don't want to get too hippy dippy on you, but somebody up there is like pounding me, like you got to write, like you're the one, like it's going to be you, like you're getting the call whether you like it or not, right? But it turned out that it was good that it was me, because I worked at one record company for 30 years, and in those 30 years, I worked with so many artists that not only could I tell you how the record business worked, what my approach to promotion, some of the outlandish things I did, I could tell you about all the managers. I could tell you about the Rolling Stones and Pink Floyd and Bruce Springsteen and Bob. It goes on and on. I couldn't even fit them all in. I mean, I got stories about Psychedelic Furs, Men at Work, Midnight Oil. They're not in there. There's a picture of the Bangles in there, but I didn't tell the Bangles story because there's just too much. So the why was somebody up there saying, hey, you got to do this. The fact that it hadn't been done. And also, and this is selfish, and it probably doesn't matter to too many people other than me, some of these people really mattered to me a lot. They're in here, not just the artists, but managers who were some of the most amazing people I'd ever met in the world. The manager of Blue Oyster Cult, Sandy Pearlman. Guy's a genius. I don't want people to forget Sandy. Now, he's mad as a hatter, but aside from that, but in all good ways, right? But I wanted people to know who Sandy was. And I want to put a picture in the book. I want people to know, you got to know who this guy was. I want people to know who Storm Thorgerson was. Storm Thorgerson's a genius. He's Pink Floyd's graphic designer. He designed Dark Side of the Moon. All these album covers we know, even more so, his company, Hypnosis. 80% of the albums we own are designed by Storm. I wanted people to know Storm. I wanted people to know Steve Popovich. I wanted people to know, some of the radio greats of back in the day. I want them to know Jim Ladd. I want them to know Stephen Clean. And even a couple of the salesmen who were outrageous. So to me it was like, this is Guys and Dolls, the movie, except it's the record business. And I just had to get it all down. Like I said, when my time comes, on all of our times, when we're gone, it's going to be gone. If nobody writes this, nobody's going to know about Herbie Herbert speaking Yiddish. They're just going to think, oh yeah, he's a big time manager, Journey, but they're not going to know. They're not going to know about Steve Paul. I'm having this. We're having a big party for Johnny Winter and Edgar in a bungalow in Beverly Hills Hotel bungalow, and he. Look, it's the 70s, so everybody's, it's like big. I'm not surprising anybody with this, but everybody's loaded and everybody gets the munchies, and he didn't remember to order food for this party of 60 people. And the guy I'm sitting next to him, he calls. This is Beverly Hills Hotel. He calls room service and orders 50 chocolate soufflés. 50. I mean, this is real stuff. Yes, and he can't even hardly talk. He's laughing because he's he's flying high in marijuana. He's like, yes, I need 50 chocolate soufflés. No, 50 chocolate soufflés. Right? Yes, I know how long it takes to make them. Right? Like, I mean, this is real. And the people, and if you think Johnny and Edgar Winter are strange looking, all the party goers, they look like a Fellini movie. I mean, like, so. I want people to know Steve Paul. This guy made things happen. He had a television show called The Scene. He had Jimi Hendrix on. He's one of the people who started, elevating this kind of music. So aside from the artists, I wanted people to know them, and I wanted people to know another side. Oh, another side of Bob Dylan. I wanted them to know people in a different way. The Bob Dylan I knew, the Keith Richards I knew, beyond the rock star, beyond the celebrity. How are these people to deal with? I found them fascinating. I just like sharing the stories. I love just sharing stories because we're all cut from the same cloth. Everybody who reads this book, which I'm thrilled, the reviews of this book are like off the charts, which I'm just thrilled, that it's been, accepted this way. But it's because all the people that buy it are just us. We all went to all the concerts. We all did this. I mean, I happen to be in the record business. You guys happen to be in radio, but we're all cut from this same cloth. So people, they want to know about Bob. They want to know, what is it like to deal with Pink Floyd, and you're, they're fighting for certain things, and how do you negotiate stuff with them, et cetera, et cetera. So, that's a long answer, but welcome to me.
One of the stories that I wanted, and it's not in your book, but I was watching the Billy Joel 2-part documentary,
Yes.
and they get to the album The Stranger, and they're all in the room. There's the picture of everybody in that room. And Paul, I probably knew half of the people in that room for the listening party. You probably, I don't think you weren't on the East Coast at this point. I don't know if they flew you in or not.
No,
so I don't know if you were there.
I'm in there somewhere. Somebody sent me a photo of me and Billy and Elizabeth. I didn't even see it. I mean, I watched it. I didn't even see myself. And they go, "Is this you?" And my wife looked at it. She goes, "Oh yeah, I know that profile anywhere."
Well, then this question's even more poignant because
okay.
Everybody comes away saying it's a nice record, but we don't hear a single. And my question, Paul, when I listen, what? What album were you listening to that you didn't hear a single?
Well, the people that were running the company at the time were probably less musical than anybody else at any other time. And I will tell you guys, not everybody hears everything. As you read in my book, there's a couple I didn't hear, but I promoted them because that's what you do. And then I went, oh, yes, I get it. You see the band live, you get it. But I think that at the time, I believe the president was Irwin Siegelstein, and they had hired Irwin, I think, after Clive, because they didn't know the record business. I mean, this CBS corporate. They went, oh, we have a corporate guy who's been successful in television. Let's move him over. And when Irwin came, the first thing he said to us, he goes, I don't know a thing about this. He was open. He said, I'm going to learn from you guys. I mean, I know business. I know how to be a good president, but he didn't know. So they could have been asking him. I don't know who the head of A&R was at that time. Billy is, like Billy Joel's music is very different than, your book one, page one, Barbra Streisand, Neil Diamond single, whatever, the people that ran Columbia before people like I come along, they're older people. So our music is new to them. When I joined Columbia as a college rep, these guys are all the Hey Babe era. They're like 50, they don't get it. They don't get the music. They're hiring me, come to find out, not only because they want a street team on college. I didn't know they were grooming us to be the next executives. I didn't know that because I knew the music. I lived it. I could tell them every, Barbara, like Janis Joplin, I could tell them who all the players were in her band. Like the people that I worked with didn't know that stuff. They didn't relate to the music. So I don't know who was listening to Billy Joel. I have to admit, I mean, come on, the singles on 52nd Street are pretty much book one, page one hit singles. They just are.
No question.
Yeah. So I think when I heard that, I went, yeah. And I think I was looking at the picture, and I think that was Irwin. I don't know who else was in the meeting. It could have been less musical people at the time. But look at, and I don't want to name names, but I've known heads of A&R who didn't want to sign the Psychedelic Furs, just didn't, and my friend Peter Philbin had to stick his neck out and go, I'm signing this band. And the guy said, well, if you sign them and they don't happen, you're going to get fired. And he went, okay. Heads of, look at, everybody passed on the Beatles, right?
Yeah, that's true.
I mean,
that's true.
It happens, people, it's like sports. You put it on paper. Okay. I happen to be a Mets fan. Can you tell me why the Mets are on a slide when I look at every one of those players and know what they can do other than pitching, which I get it, right? I mean, because pitching is a thing unto itself, and I know we're having problems there. Why is that? Because it's a little bit like A&R, right? It's you don't really know. You believe a band's going to happen or an artist is going to happen. It's got all the elements. You don't know until you put the team together. Okay, now a team goes on a slide. Why? Can anybody explain to me why a team that's as great as the Mets is not performing up? And I don't want to make a sports talk show, but A&R is a similar kind of thing. Everybody does it. All the teams do it. It looks good on paper. Then there's an injury. Then there's a thing. You don't really know. And I will tell you this. I always felt, and nothing against Columbia Records because that's my home. I worked there for over 30 years. I always felt that Warner Brothers had a stronger A&R department. I'm a rock promotion person. I become the head of rock promotion person. All the Warner Brothers rock acts, they just walked on the radio. They didn't even need a promotion staff. They just, you could put Van Halen around a dog collar and just send it in. Neil Young, ZZ Top. I mean, and I used to get mad because like, God, that's easy peasy. And I may have to work harder because I don't know, maybe we were more creative or we were not exactly down the pike. But John Hammond was the strongest A&R person we ever had. We would have A&R people that would come in and then leave. They were like mercurial. But they would sign bands like Aerosmith. Hello. And the president takes, credit for it. But I can't remember the guy's name who signed Aerosmith. He was there for like 8 months and he left. Nick Terzo signed Alice in Chains. You don't even know his name. And they come and they go. And then the president said, well, I signed Alice in Chains. Well, the power of the, yeah, but, so Columbia was lucky, and along the way, Peter Philbin, who I mentioned, he signed the Bangles, he signed Psychedelic Furs. There's another big one I can't remember. Oh, Karl Labanov. They come and they go. But as a department, we weren't known like Atlantic. Like everybody knew who Jerry Wexler was. We didn't have a Jerry Wexler. So consequently, you get not those people. So somebody hears a record. I don't know. They say they don't hear a hit single. Anyway, it doesn't matter because there was like 20,000 hit singles off 50 seconds. And Billy hit it big and, everything was fine. So,
but you even had trouble getting 52nd Street on KLOS in Los Angeles.
I had trouble with Billy Joel on the West Coast and also Bruce Springsteen because, first of all, the music is different. Like if you're on the West Coast, the rock from the West Coast is like Van Halen. Starts with, although that's later, actually, Van Halen's in later years. But let's say rock on the West Coast is very traditional. It's Eric Clapton, it's the Stones, it's the Who, it's, because, Van Halen comes later. But the point is that it's a different sound. A guy like Bruce Springsteen comes along, I hear it because I'm a music guy. This guy's a poet. This guy's saying things. This is like amazing. But it's different kind of music. You go see him live, the bass player's playing a tuba sometimes. It's like, it's a different thing, right? I mean, it's not down the pike rock. And Billy, every time Billy had a hit single, it's a ballad. So they don't even know that Billy's a rocker. Like, you know what? My job for a lot of years was taking people to Billy Joel shows, taking people to Bruce Springsteen shows, because my FM disc jockey people just, didn't understand it. They would get too hung up on when it came to Bruce. It was like, well, it's East Coast imagery, or like Billy Joel is East Coast imagery, right? Bruce is singing about giant Exxon signs. We don't have Exxon here, in California. I'm like, you hear these Bruce Springsteen albums, and all you can tell me is that he sings about giant Exxon signs. That's all you can take away from it. I mean, you hear Billy Joel singing these, heartfelt songs about the human condition, right? I mean, you hear Miami 2017. You're going to tell me the guy's a balladeer? Like, come on, So it was difficult. But once I took them to a show, then everybody got religion. It was hard. So everybody thinks these guys happen automatically. They don't. They don't happen automatically anywhere. I mean, it takes time. When you're cutting your own groove, it takes time for radio, which is conservative. They don't want to lose listeners. Let's give it a shot. Things grow. I mean, Bruce Springsteen, what doesn't break until his third album. Billy Joel doesn't break until his fourth album. Wide open. I mean, big. That's the way things were. And on the West Coast, it was, but as you read in the book, I was very creative. It was time for Billy Joel, and it was a business of favors where I had done a lot of nice things for KLOS, and the program director knew it was something that I, as the FM rock promotion man in the Western region, I couldn't live without. When we hit 52nd Street, he knew I couldn't live without an edition on his station, because at that time KLOS was selling tons of records. But you take nothing for granted. And when I went to see him to try to talk him into it, I had to leave the next day for meetings in New York, and he wasn't he was busy with the general manager. And as you read in the book, we had these sales printouts. They were like this big. And they were like, the itty bitty card. You open it up and they all, there's like 100. Because, CBS Records is huge. And I papered his office with sales printout. I mean, there was no wall. It was just sales. It was just CBS sales printouts everywhere on the ceiling, on the walls. It looked like a Halloween stunt. And in the middle, was Billy Joe's sales on his desk with a big magic marker. Look, these are his sales. These are his, these are the ticket sales. It's time. P.S. I need this. Love, Rap, or whatever I wrote. And then I went to New York. So, so I think, I think that's, why that was for him. And I wanted to write about him and the band because I had a wonderful relationship. Even more with I had a relationship with both of them, but Billy really didn't hang out a lot. It was the band. You go out and hang out. You read the story with me and Liberty and the band in the car, embarrassed to say drunk out of our minds, flying across the Oakland Bay Bridge. And Liberty sees that they're doing construction, and he sees there's orange cones. We'd just been to a dinner where we drank, 100 bottles of red wine. And I was the driver because I was the least inebriated. Lib's in the back seat with Richie Canada, and the sound guy, McGee, he was sitting in the front seat, and Lib's going, rap, rap, rap. My nickname's Rap because my last name's Rappaport for anybody who's watching this. So anyway, so he goes, oh, you see those orange cones? I go, yeah. He goes, can you get close to them? I go, yeah. Because next one you see, and they were all down the Oakland Bay Bridge. He goes, okay, well, the next one you see, get close to it. I said, okay. So I swerved close to the cone, and Liberty he's in the back seat, opens the door and goes, snap, and knocks the cone off the Bay Bridge, right? And everybody laughs, and we think that's a good idea. Because we're idiots, right? Can you do it again? I'm going all the way down the Oakland Bay Bridge, and Liberty DeVito is opening the door every time he hit a snap, and I'm getting into a rhythm. I think Liberty appreciates it because he's a drummer, right? So now I'm like, swerve, whap, swerve. I don't even know. We didn't kill ourselves. I mean, how did I not swerve off the bridge? I mean, so you've got all these kind of stories. You've got, all this kind of crazy stuff, and the relationships with the artists, and it gets deep where you see some things that have to be fixed. And, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I have a big imagination. So you see me do things like create a Pink Floyd psychedelic airship for Pink Floyd and shoot laser beams off mountainsides and, all of it. And you learn, I think, a lot about the music business. Even though it's from back in the day, I think there's a lot to learn for anyone who wants to be in the business now, because some things don't change, So I just wanted to get it all down while I still remembered it. And it took me 6 years, full-time job, get up, 2 cups of coffee, write, throw stuff out, put stuff back in. 4 editors at separate different times. I wanted to make it a page turner. I wanted to make it a barn burner. I wanted to make it fun. I wanted you guys to have fun like I had fun, right? That was the idea. Like, I happened to be the guy that was there, but you can't believe this stuff.
Well, one of the crazier stories that's in there, and I knew a couple of the people involved was with Scott Muni, the former WNEW-FM and disc jockey, program director, what have you, and Bill Kerbishley.
Yes.
Some people may know as the manager of The Who and Judas Priest, and you in a Midtown restaurant blowing a whistle, wearing a hockey referee jersey. And there's no way, Paul, that I will ever be able to do justice to this story.
Yeah, when you have really big bands like Judas Priest or The Who, and you've established them, when the records come out, you're sort of monitoring it. Like, they fly on FM rock radio, but they don't, everybody isn't going to add something the same week. The playlists are tight. Maybe they might play it, but they might not officially add the record because they have to wait a week for this room or whatever. So usually, first week out, you get 80 stations. Maybe you get to 120 the next week. Then there's the cleanup. You got to get to your last 30. There's 150 stations on the rock panel. And I'm at 149, and NEW isn't there. By the third week, something's wrong. And I call Scott Muni, who's affectionately known as Fats.
Fats.
Yeah, Fats. Yeah. He's Fats, and here's what's weird. It's like the Rastafarians, like seen, like you're an I and I'm an I, like everybody's an I. So when they say seen, I and I, it means understood by you and me. Well, Fats is Fats, but if you're in the little, family of Fats, you're Fats also. So I call him up and I go, "Hey, Fats." Yeah, I go, "This is really weird. You guys are big Judas Priest fans. I got a like a hit record here, man. I got Turbo Lover. I mean, I got 3 songs on here. You're not playing the record." "Yeah, I'm mad at Bill Curbishley, who's the manager." I'm like, well, "You guys are friends, right?" "We used to be." "Well, what happened?" "He threw me out of the backstage Who party." I'm like, "Scott, nobody would throw you out of a rock and roll party. That doesn't. I can't believe that." "Yeah, he said I was unruly." He said you were unruly. He said, "Yeah." I said, "He manages the Who, right? Keith Moon invented unruly. The guy blows up toilet seats. The guy axes down, hotel rooms. He's got piranha fish in his bathtub. And so I had to call Curbishley. I said, "Bill, this isn't real, right?" He goes, "Yeah, no, it's Bill's English. Yeah, Scott was unruly. I had to throw him out." I go, "How do you? You're kidding me." I said, "Well, look, this can't stand. This is nuts. The guy who manages the Who and Judas Priest, he used to be a friend of Scott's. You guys have to, you got to come together." And I said, "Look." Bill said, "Well, I'm coming to town in a couple of weeks." I said, "Will you have lunch with Scott?" He said, "Yeah, if you're there." I said, "Okay." So I called up Scott. "Hey, Fats, I got to fix this. Will you sit down?" So it's a sit down. This is like the freaking mafia. It's like 2 fucking heavyweights. I'm like, yeah, I just said freaking if anybody's listening on the radio. So the 2 heavyweights. And so I know this is going to be tough. You're talking 2 heavyweights. This is Scott Muni runs New York City, right? If your record isn't on NEW and you're a new artist or you're a band with a brand new record, if there's a problem, you're not going to hear it because across the street, WPLJ, it's like a jukebox. They're playing the hits. They wait till everything's top 10. So this is a big deal, right? I walked in one day, actually, I said, "Scott, how come you're not playing the new Joni Mitchell record?" "I'm waiting for Warner Brothers to call me. They pissed me off." It's like, I'm waiting till they realize nobody in New York's heard Joni's new record. I mean, this guy's got a lot of power. Anyway, long story short, we're going to meet at the Delegate. The Delegate is a big time restaurant that everybody goes for lunch. It's businessmen, favorite drink, watering hole for a lot of people, including Scott, who at the time was drinking. And Scott liked scotch a lot. So I know that I have to break the ice because it's going to be nuts with these guys. They're really mad at each other. So I went to a sports store and I bought a hockey referee jersey, with white and the black, the orange stripes. And I got a whistle, the ref's whistle. And I put it on, but I covered it, with a sports jacket, right? And I go to the Delegate, and Scott's already on his second scotch at the bar waiting for me, and Curbishley isn't there yet. And I walk up, "Hey, Fats, how you doing?" "I'm good. You want one of these?" I turn around and the door opens. It's like a movie. It's like a Western movie. Like this guy's coming in with 6 guns, right? It's, backlit, Bill Curbishley, right? Walks in, and they look at each other, and it's daggers. And Curbishley's coming towards us. And you can see it. I mean, these guys could throw punches. I mean, it was like that. So when Curbishley got this close, I threw off, my sports jacket. I've got a hockey referee jersey on. I put the whistle on my mouth. I go like this, like, blow the whistle, and the whole restaurant stops, right? And everybody in the Delegate is cracking up. They don't even know what is going on, but they figured out something, and the whole restaurant's cracking up. And Scott and Bill can't help but crack up. Right? So they get the joke. So adds a little levity, to the situation. I mean, we had to sit down and they had to really work it out, which is a whole nother part of the story. But I have a big imagination. I'm a bit of a show off. I like drama. So, I thought it would work, and it did.
It did, most
Yeah,
definitely.
That's very
yeah.
good.
They laughed enough that when they sat down, they said, how are we going to do this? And you read in the book, it's a heavy duty story. What really happens, the rest of the story is really heavy, but I got them back together. And then I went back to my office, and that afternoon, Scott was on the air, and he goes, "Hey, brand new from Judas Priest, Turbo Lover." Right? I'm like, "Thank you." On to the next crisis, which, is always, there's always something. I mean,
Always.
you're talking
Always.
about, I mean, it's everybody was a character. The radio people were characters. We're characters. It's just characters dealing with other characters. I mean, Jim's almost in the book because there's a good friend of ours, sadly, who passed away, a guy named Jim Del Balzo, told me in his version of the story, which I told Richard Neer, which he said wasn't far from the truth, about how Jim got hired on NEW. And the story goes, and I will tell you this as a preface, just like the Wild West, when the legend becomes bigger than the truth, print the legend. Okay, this is the legend. Monaghan comes in, he's working at a station from out of town. He's got his audition tape, sits down in front of Richard Neer. "Hey, yeah, Neer. Yeah, Monaghan, I've heard about you. Do you like baseball?" Monaghan. "Yeah." Do you play baseball?" "Yeah, as a matter of fact, I do." Are you any good?" "Yeah, as a matter of fact, I am." "Is there any chance you play center field?" "As a matter of fact, I play center field really well." "Great. You're hired." We have a very competitive baseball team, and we need a center fielder. We're dying for a center fielder. Monaghan. "Well, don't you want to hear the audition tape?" I'm sure you're great. You start on overnights." This is the story that I'm told, right?
Well,
I called Richard Neer. Now, Richard Neer said, "That's not far from the truth." But Rapp, he goes, I must have listened to the tape. I would never hire a guy if I didn't listen to the tape. But that's what Del Balzo told me. Richard Neer is not running away from it. So it was something like that, even if it wasn't as good as that. But I prefer the story.
it took a year and a half.
A year and a half.
It took a year and a half. I played softball against the NEW team in '78. I got hired in 1980.
Okay.
So
well, maybe
it's close.
Maybe they were scouting you.
The book was called Gliders Over Hollywood, Airships, Airplay, and the Art of Rock Promotion. Paul Rappaport, we've got to do a part 2 because there are so many great things that I didn't get a chance to talk about. So you got to check the book out. Thank you for your time, and we're definitely going to get you together again.
I would do part 2 because you guys are a blast to talk to.
Thank you so much for being with us, Paul. It was absolutely great. Can't wait for part 2 of this.
All right. Thanks. Good to talk to you.